He walked these New York streets every day, but today one face stopped him cold. Michael Bennett wasn't the kind of man who noticed people on sidewalks. As a 42-year-old real estate millionaire in Manhattan, his life ran on schedules, chauffeurs, and a phone that never stopped buzzing. He'd built his empire from nothing. Every minute mattered. But that Friday morning, everything halted. His Escalade rolled to a gentle stop near East 59th, the usual drop-off spot outside his office. The city was waking up, taxis honking, coffee carts steaming, commuters rushing. Michael stepped out, adjusting his navy overcoat, ready to dive into another high-pressure day. Then he saw her. A woman sat on the concrete beside a bus shelter, knees pulled to her chest, an old backpack at her feet. Two children, maybe 6 and 9, huddled close to her, wrapped in worn hoodies. A cardboard sign leaned against her leg. "Anything helps." Michael felt his throat tighten, something he hadn't experienced in years. Because the woman didn't just look familiar, she was familiar. Her hair was messy, streaked with dirt, tucked under a faded beanie. Her face was thinner, older, but the shape was the same. The curve of her cheekbones, the small scar near her jawline. It was Rebecca, the girl he once loved, the girl he once planned a future with, the girl who disappeared 12 years ago. And now she was sitting on a sidewalk with 2 kids. Michael blinked hard. His mind raced. Rebecca had been brilliant, top of their class at NYU, the woman who dreamed of becoming a teacher. She was gentle, driven, stubborn, warm. She had vanished after a huge fight, moved out of their apartment, and never answered his calls again. He had searched for her for months back then, until eventually he forced himself to move on. But seeing her now, barely recognizable yet unmistakably her, felt like a punch to the chest. Michael took a step closer. The older child, a boy, immediately shifted in front of his mother, protective. The little girl clung to Rebecca's sleeve. Rebecca kept her head down, avoiding eye contact with everyone passing by, including him. "Rebecca?" Michael whispered, voice barely steady. Her shoulders stiffened. She looked up slowly, eyes widening in shock, panic, and something he couldn't name. Her lips parted, as if she wanted to speak but couldn't. Michael saw it clearly, the fear not of him, but of what his presence might mean. "Michael," she finally breathed, voice trembling. He nodded, struggling to find words. Questions slammed through his head. What happened to her? Where was her family? Were these her kids? Why was she homeless in the middle of Manhattan? Before he could speak again, a bus screeched to a stop beside them, drowning out the world. Rebecca grabbed her backpack and the kids' hands in a rush. "Please don't," she said, stepping back. Then she tried to run. Cliffhanger. What is she running from? And why is she afraid of him? People don't run from someone unless they're scared or hiding something. Rebecca's reaction hit Michael harder than he expected. One moment she was staring at him, shocked, fragile, caught between fear and recognition, and the next, she was sweeping up her children, moving away with a speed that didn't match her exhausted body. "Rebecca, wait," Michael called, but she didn't. She tugged the kids along the sidewalk, weaving through crowds as if she'd done this 1,000 times. The boy kept glancing back at Michael, confused and worried. The little girl stumbled to keep up. Michael wasn't a man who chased people. He was the kind of man people came to. But his feet moved before his mind caught up. He followed. The bus pulled away, revealing the woman he once planned to marry, now disappearing into a flood of New Yorkers who didn't even notice her. "Rebecca," he shouted again. She turned a corner sharply onto a narrower street lined with old brick buildings and delis opening for the morning. The kids were struggling to keep pace now. Michael finally caught up when Rebecca stopped short in front of a locked service door, breathing hard. He could see her shoulders rising and falling under her thin jacket. "Please," she said, not turning around. "Don't follow me." Her voice cracked. Michael softened his tone. "Rebecca, I'm not here to hurt you. I just, I need to know what happened." She slowly turned, her eyes glossy, haunted even. Up close, Michael could see the bruised circles under her eyes, the way her hands trembled as she held her children. "This is not your world," she whispered. "You shouldn't be here." "That doesn't matter," Michael said gently, taking a small step closer. "I just want to help." The boy, still gripping his mother's sleeve, looked at Michael with a mix of hope and fear. "Mom, it's okay," he said softly. Rebecca shook her head.
No.
"It's not." Michael crouched down slightly to be at eye level with the kids.
I'm Michael.
"I'm an old friend of your mom's." The girl hid behind Rebecca. The boy didn't. "Are you rich?" he asked bluntly. Michael's lips twitched. "Something like that." The boy nodded as if confirming a suspicion. "Mom said you could buy a whole street." Rebecca closed her eyes in embarrassment. But Michael didn't laugh. He couldn't. He was still trying to understand how the woman he once admired, smart, strong, full of dreams, had ended up like this. "How long have you been out here?" he asked carefully. Rebecca hesitated. A long, painful silence followed. Finally, she said, "Too long." Her voice broke. Michael's chest tightened. "Rebecca, come with me. Let me get you somewhere warm."
Just for today.
"For the kids." "No," her answer was immediate and final, but the fear behind it told him something. She wasn't just homeless. She was running from something or someone. Before Michael could ask, a loud voice echoed from down the alley. "Rebecca, there you are." Rebecca froze. The kids froze. Michael turned toward the voice and instantly knew. Whoever this was, she did not want him to see them. Cliffhanger. Who is the man calling her name? And why does Rebecca look terrified? Sometimes it's not the past that haunts a person, it's who they're running from right now. The name echoing through the narrow alley hit Rebecca like a shockwave. Her fingers instantly tightened around her children's hands. Eli stepped in front of his little sister again, protective the way a child should never have to be. Michael watched Rebecca's entire body go rigid with fear. This wasn't the reaction of someone embarrassed or ashamed. This was someone terrified. A heavy-set man rounded the corner, wearing a stained jacket and carrying a plastic grocery bag. His steps were loud, purposeful. His eyes scanned the alley until they landed on Rebecca, and then on Michael. His expression changed immediately. "What's going on here?" he snapped, stepping closer. Rebecca swallowed hard. "Frank, we were just leaving." "Come on, kids." Frank held up a hand. "I didn't ask you to talk, Rebecca." Michael frowned. "Who are you?" Frank smirked. "Who am I?" "Who are you talking to, my?" He stopped, sizing up Michael's watch, his suit, the Escalade parked on the main street. His eyes narrowed with sudden hostility. "Friend," he finished, voice dripping with suspicion. Michael stepped slightly in front of Rebecca without even thinking. "I'm Michael. And you are?" Frank ignored him and focused on Rebecca again. "You weren't supposed to wander off. You know that." His tone sharpened. "You're making things difficult." Rebecca's eyes filled with dread, but she didn't argue. She didn't even lift her head. The kid shrank back. That told Michael everything he needed to know. This wasn't a good man. "Hold on," Michael said calmly but firmly. "She doesn't belong to you. You don't get to speak to her like that." Frank's jaw tensed. "Excuse me?" "You heard me." Rebecca panicked, grabbing Michael's sleeve. "Please don't, please." You don't understand. Let's just go. Michael looked at her, really looked at her. There was fear, but also exhaustion, resignation. Like someone who'd stopped believing in being helped because it always came with a cost. Frank stepped closer, puffing his chest. You rich types think you can just show up and take over? She's been staying with me. I'm the one feeding them. I'm the one keeping them off the streets. Rebecca flinched. Michael didn't miss it. Is that true? He asked her gently. Rebecca hesitated, then slowly shook her head. Frank's expression twisted. Don't lie to him. Michael's voice turned cold. She's not lying. And unless you want to answer to the NYPD, you'll back up right now. Frank snorted. What, you're gonna call the cops? For what? For helping a homeless family? Michael reached into his coat pocket and pulled out his phone. If you take one more step toward her, yes. That's exactly what I'll do. A dangerous silence fell. Frank stared at him, breathing hard, eyes flicking between Michael, Rebecca, and the kids. Then he muttered, "This isn't over," and backed away slowly. Rebecca's legs nearly buckled when he disappeared around the corner. Michael turned to her. Rebecca, who is that man? She wiped tears from her cheeks, her voice barely audible. Someone we should have never trusted. Michael crouched to look her in the eyes. Come with me.
Please.
You and the kids. Right now. Rebecca looked at Eli, at her daughter, then back at Michael. Her lips trembled. Okay, she whispered. Just don't ask me anything yet. Michael nodded, offering his hand. She took it, but as he guided them toward the main street, none of them noticed. Frank was still watching from behind a dumpster, and he was furious. Cliffhanger. Frank isn't done with them, and he knows exactly where they're going. Sometimes the safest place isn't a shelter. It's a person who refuses to walk away. Michael guided Rebecca and the kids toward his Escalade, glancing over his shoulder every few steps. He didn't see Frank, but the man's angry words still echoed in his mind. Rebecca kept her head down, gripping her children's hands tightly. Eli walked beside Michael, watching the world with those wide, cautious eyes that had seen far too much for a 9-year-old. The little girl, Ava, shivered in the cold morning air. When they reached the SUV, Michael opened the back door. Hop in. It's warm. Ava looked at her mother. Rebecca nodded gently. The kids climbed inside, relief washing over their small faces the moment the heat reached them. Rebecca hesitated. Michael noticed. You're safe, he said softly. Those 2 words seemed to break something inside her. She gave a tiny nod and climbed into the back, sitting between the kids. Her fingers trembled as she buckled Ava's seatbelt. Michael slid into the front seat. Take us to the Central Park West apartment, he told his driver. As the Escalade pulled into traffic, the city buzzed around them. Tourists, taxis, cyclists, business people rushing down Manhattan sidewalks. Michael stared ahead, but his mind was a storm. Rebecca, homeless, with 2 kids, running from a man who clearly had power over her. It didn't make sense, and it broke something inside him. He turned slightly so he could see her. You don't have to tell me anything right now, but I want you to know, I'm glad you let me help. Rebecca stared at her hands. I didn't know what else to do. Does he hurt you? Michael asked quietly. She tensed. Please don't ask me that. Ava leaned against her mother's side. Eli looked out the window, pretending not to hear. Silence filled the car. After 10 minutes, the Escalade pulled up to Michael's apartment building, a tall, modern tower overlooking Central Park. The doorman stepped forward instantly. Good morning, Mr. Bennett. Do you need assistance with— No, Michael interrupted gently. Just privacy. The doorman nodded and stepped back. Michael led them through the lobby. The marble floors gleamed under warm lights. Ava's eyes widened. Eli tried to play it cool but failed. Inside the elevator, Rebecca whispered, "Michael, this place is too much. We can't stay here." "Yes, you can," Michael replied firmly. "At least until you're safe." The elevator doors opened into his penthouse, a spacious living room with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the park. Sunlight washed over the hardwood floors. Ava gasped softly. Eli stopped breathing for a moment. Rebecca didn't move. She looked overwhelmed and scared. "This is temporary," she said, voice shaking. "We won't burden you." "You're not a burden," Michael said. "Not then."
Not now.
Rebecca swallowed hard, memories flickering behind her eyes. Memories of when they were young, in love, and planning a life that never happened. The kids ran to the windows, distracted by the view. Rebecca lowered herself onto the couch slowly, as if her body was finally giving up after months, maybe years, of holding everything together. Michael sat across from her. "Rebecca," he said gently, "you left 12 years ago without a word. And now I find you like this. Please tell me what happened." She looked up, her first tear fell. "I didn't disappear because of you, Michael," she whispered. She paused. "I disappeared because of him." Cliffhanger. What did Frank do, and how is he connected to her past disappearance? Some people vanish to protect themselves, and some vanish to protect the people they love. Rebecca sat on the edge of Michael's couch, hands shaking in her lap. The penthouse was quiet except for the soft hum of the heating system. Ava leaned against the window, tracing shapes on the glass. Eli stood guard near his mother, watching her closely. Michael waited. He didn't push. He didn't interrupt. He just waited, the way he never could 12 years ago. Rebecca finally took a deep breath. "I didn't leave because I stopped loving you," she whispered. Michael's pulse quickened. Those were words he never expected to hear again. "I left because I found out who Frank really was." Michael frowned. "You knew him back then?" Rebecca nodded slowly. "I met him at the diner I worked at during school. He came in often. At first, he seemed harmless, just another customer who tipped well and talked too much." She rubbed her trembling palms together. "Then he became obsessive, controlling. He didn't like that I was with you. He'd show up outside our apartment. He'd follow me from campus. He threatened me, Michael." Michael felt a surge of anger rise in his chest. "Why didn't you tell me?" "Because he said he'd hurt you if I did. And back then he sounded like the kind of man who would do it." Michael clenched his jaw. His younger self would have never believed anyone could threaten Rebecca. But now, after seeing Frank in that alley, he understood. "One night," Rebecca continued, "he grabbed me outside my shift. Told me he would ruin your career, your family, your entire life if I didn't leave you." Her voice cracked. "So I left." Michael felt like the room tilted. "Rebecca, I would have protected you. You didn't have to go through that alone." Rebecca looked at him with hollow eyes. "I was 22, scared, and he was everywhere. So I packed a bag and disappeared." Michael swallowed hard, his throat burning. "And the kids? That's the part that's complicated." She looked at Ava and Eli, then back at Michael. "After I left, I moved from city to city, Boston, Philly, Baltimore, trying to stay off Frank's radar. I met someone, a good man. We had the kids." A sad smile tugged at her lips. For a little while, things were okay. Michael didn't miss the past tense. "What happened to him?" he asked softly. Rebecca's eyes filled with tears again. "He passed away. A car accident 2 years ago. After that, everything fell apart. I couldn't afford rent, childcare, anything. And then She hesitated, fear creeping back into her voice. Frank found me again. Michael's stomach twisted.
How?
He said he'd been looking for me for years. Said I owed him. Said he'd take the kids if I didn't do what he wanted. So I stayed with him. He let us sleep on his couch, but it wasn't kindness. It was control. Threats.
Fear.
Michael's hands curled into fists. Rebecca, I swear he's not coming near you or the kids again. She shook her head quickly. Michael, you don't understand. Frank doesn't give up. You saw how he looked at you. He's angry. And when he's angry, a sudden sharp buzz came from Michael's penthouse intercom. Rebecca jumped. Eli rushed to her side. Michael walked to the screen on the wall. A live camera feed showed the lobby downstairs. Frank stood at the entrance, arguing with the doorman, and he looked furious. Cliffhanger. Frank has found them, and he's not leaving without a fight. Fear hits different when it shows up right at your door. Michael stared at the intercom screen, jaw tightening as Frank shoved a finger at the doorman, shouting words the camera's microphone couldn't fully catch. But Rebecca didn't need audio. The moment she saw him, her entire body recoiled. "Oh God," she whispered, covering her mouth. Ava ran to her mother. Eli stood frozen, fists clenched but trembling. Michael turned to them. "Listen to me," he said calmly. "You're safe up here. He's not getting in." "Michael," Rebecca gasped, "he'll make a scene. He always does. He's dangerous when he gets like this." Michael walked back to the screen, pressing the mute button to silence the lobby noise. He watched Frank pacing, demanding access, pointing upward as if he could smell where they were. "Does he know your last name?" Michael asked. Rebecca shook her head.
No.
"Never. I changed it years ago." "Good," Michael replied. "Then he doesn't know which apartment he's trying to reach." Rebecca looked like she wanted to believe that, but terror still squeezed her features tight. Michael pulled out his phone. "Who are you calling?" she asked quickly. "Building security." A few rings later, the chief of security answered. "This is Bennett in PH1. There's a man in the lobby. His name is Frank. He's not a guest. I need him removed immediately." "Understood, Mr. Bennett. We're on it." Michael ended the call and turned back to Rebecca. "They'll handle it." Rebecca stared at the floor. "You don't know him, Michael. He won't stop." Michael stepped closer, lowering his voice. "And I don't run. Not anymore." For a moment, their eyes locked, 12 years of history crashing together in a single heartbeat. But the moment shattered when the intercom flashed again. "Incoming call. Lobby Estella." Michael tapped the screen. Security appeared on the feed. 2 guards approaching Frank. One tall, one stocky. They spoke calmly, but Frank immediately shoved the stocky guard and started shouting again. His face twisted in rage. "He's worse today," Rebecca whispered. "He's not getting past them," Michael said. And Frank didn't. Not physically, but with a sudden, bitter smirk. Frank did something else. He held up his phone to the camera, pressed it against the glass, and on the bright screen, a message glowed. "I'll wait." Rebecca's breath caught. Frank stepped back, crossed his arms, and leaned against a pillar in the lobby. He wasn't leaving. He wasn't giving up. He was planting himself exactly where they had to pass if they ever wanted to walk out again. Michael felt something hot rush through him, anger mixed with protectiveness. "He thinks he can intimidate you," he said, voice low. "He thinks fear keeps him in control." "It always has," Rebecca murmured. "Not anymore." Rebecca looked up, eyes full of exhaustion and disbelief. "Michael, you can't fix everything. You shouldn't risk yourself because of me." Michael stepped closer, voice steady. "Rebecca, I'm not risking myself. I'm protecting someone I should have protected years ago." She blinked, stunned by the weight of his sincerity. Before she could respond, Eli spoke up for the first time in minutes. "Mom," he whispered, tugging her sleeve, "is that man going to take us again?" Rebecca pulled him into her arms instantly.
No, baby.
"Not anymore. I won't let him." Michael knelt beside them. "Neither will I." A tear slid down Rebecca's cheek, but before any of them could gather their thoughts, Michael's phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. He opened it. "Nice place you got. Shame if someone followed your driver next time." Rebecca saw the look on his face.
What?
"What is it?" Michael turned the phone toward her, her face drained of color. Cliffhanger. Frank has just crossed a line, and now Michael is in danger too. A threat feels different when it hits someone who isn't afraid to fight back. Michael stared at the text, jaw locked. He wasn't a man who's scared easily, not in business, not in life. But this wasn't a hostile takeover or a lawsuit. This was a warning from a desperate man, a dangerous man. Rebecca covered her mouth with trembling fingers. "Michael, he's following you now. This is my fault." "No," Michael said firmly, lowering the phone. "This is Frank's fault. And it ends today." Rebecca shook her head, panic flooding her voice.
You don't understand.
"He's unpredictable. If he feels cornered, he'll do worse. Much worse." Michael stepped closer. "Rebecca, I survived Wall Street sharks, political blackmail, lawsuits. This isn't a boardroom," she snapped, tears rising. "This is a man who has nothing to lose." Those words landed heavy. Ava climbed onto the couch, curling into her mother's lap. Eli stood near the window, fists tight at his sides, trying to act tougher than his age. Michael took a breath. "Okay, no more reacting. We plan." He grabbed his phone again. "Who are you calling?" Rebecca asked, fear spiking again. "A friend in the N-way." Rebecca froze.
No, no caps.
"If he gets arrested and released, he'll come for us. He'll come for you. He always gets angrier when someone tries to stop him." Michael paused. He wasn't used to being told no, especially when he was trying to help. But when he looked at Rebecca's shaking hands, at the shadows under her eyes, he understood. She knew Frank's patterns better than anyone. "All right," he said softly. "No police. For now." Rebecca exhaled shakily, relief and fear tangled together. Michael sat down across from her. "Tell me everything. Every threat. Every place he's followed you. Everything he wants." Rebecca swallowed hard. "I think he wants control," she said. "He likes having power over people who can't fight back. When I moved in with him, he said it was temporary. Then he took my documents, my ID, the kids' birth certificates. Said he was keeping them safe." Michael's blood went cold. "He took your documents?" Rebecca nodded. "So, I'd have no choice but to stay." Eli's voice cut through the silence. "He said Mom owed him forever." Michael's heart clenched. "Eli, how long did you stay with him?" "Too long," Eli whispered. Looking away, Michael turned to Rebecca, voice steady. "You're not going back there. None of you are." Rebecca's eyes glistened. "Michael, he's downstairs. Waiting. He found you.
He threatened you.
He's not leaving until he gets what he wants." Michael stood up, new determination settling in. "Then we make sure he doesn't get it." Rebecca rose too, stepping closer, voice trembling. "What are you planning?" Michael looked her dead in the eyes. "I'm planning to end this, with or without the police." Before she could respond, the elevator dinged. Everyone froze. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Heavy footsteps. Ava whimpered and buried her face in Rebecca's shoulder. Eli grabbed Michael's sleeve. terrified but silent. Michael moved toward the penthouse door slowly, quietly, muscles tensing. Rebecca whispered urgently, "Michael, don't open it. Please don't open it." A fist slammed against the door. Rebecca screamed and covered Ava's ears. Eli backed away, and Michael stepped forward. Point one more bang shook the doorframe. Then, Frank's voice.
Low. Come.
Chilling. "Open up, Bennett. We need to talk." Cliffhanger. What happens when Michael comes face to face with Frank at his own door? Amir didn't speak for several seconds. His jaw tightened, his eyes locked on the woman and the children beside her. The children who were clinging to each other, hungry but quiet, watching the adults with wide, uncertain eyes. Finally, he exhaled, slow, controlled, too controlled. "Why didn't you come to me?" he asked, voice low, almost trembling. Isla lowered her gaze, her fingers dug into the sleeves of her worn sweater. "Because," she paused, swallowing hard, "because I thought you hated me." Amir flinched, not visibly, but enough that his breath stuttered for a moment. "Hated you?" he repeated softly. "Isla, I searched for you for years." Her head snapped up, eyes filled with disbelief. He ran a hand through his hair, pacing once. "When you disappeared, I lost my mind. I thought you were avoiding me. I thought it was because of—" He stopped mid-sentence, breathing unsteady. Isla's lips trembled. "Because of the accident." Silence, heavy, sharp. The children looked back and forth between them, confused, scared, sensing the tension. Amir nodded slowly. "Yes. Because of the accident. Because of him." Isla closed her eyes as if the memory physically cut her. "Amir, I didn't leave because of guilt. I left because," her voice cracked, "because they threatened me." He froze. "Who threatened you?" His tone was suddenly cold, dangerous. Isla hesitated, fear flickering in her eyes. "Your uncle," she whispered, "and his men." The air between them shifted, hard, violent, like something inside Amir snapped and kept snapping. "What did he say?" Amir demanded, stepping closer. Isla shook her head, tears spilling. "That if I stayed near you, something would happen to my baby." She touched her son's hair gently. "I was pregnant, Amir. I didn't even know it at the time. But they knew. They told me to disappear, or else." Amir's eyes widened, shock slicing through him. "You were pregnant," he whispered, "with my child." Isla nodded, trembling. "And when they found out I was carrying twins, they told me if I contacted you, they'd take them away." Amir staggered back a step. His whole life, his decisions, his pain, his anger, had been built on a lie crafted to separate him from the woman he once loved and the children he never knew existed. He looked at the twins again. Really looked, and realization washed through him like a tidal wave. Same eyes, same smile, same little dimple he used to tease Isla about his children. His breath shook as he whispered, "Isla, these are my kids." Isla pressed a hand to her mouth, sobbing silently, and for the first time since the day she vanished, Amir Malik, the billionaire everyone feared, felt his knees weaken. He whispered, voice breaking, "Why didn't you tell me?" Isla met his gaze, pain etched into every line of her face. "Because, Amir, I wasn't allowed to survive if I did." For a long moment, Amir didn't move. He just stood there, silent, frozen, staring at the twins as if trying to memorize every detail he'd never been allowed to witness. Their small hands, their tired eyes, their fragile shoes with worn-out soles, everything. Then something shifted in him, something deep, something dangerous. Isla felt it. "Amir, don't," she whispered. "Please don't blame yourself." But he wasn't hearing her, not anymore. His voice came out low, deadly calm. My uncle threatened you and took 9 years of my children's lives from me. Isla swallowed hard. Amir, he stepped forward, eyes burning like fire. Isla, I would have protected you. I would have protected them. You should have told me. She shook her head, tears streaming. You don't understand. They watched me. Everywhere. Every city I moved to, someone followed. And when the kids were born, her voice trembled. I was scared they'd take them from me forever. The twins pressed closer to her legs, sensing her fear. Amir crouched in front of them slowly, gently, like approaching something precious and breakable. He didn't touch them. He didn't want to scare them. But his voice softened in a way Isla hadn't heard in years. Hi, he whispered. I'm Amir. The little boy blinked. The girl hid behind Isla. Isla placed a reassuring hand on them. These are your uncle's kids, she said softly, avoiding the word father to not overwhelm them, but Amir caught it, his chest tightened painfully. He stood up again, fire returning to his eyes. Isla, listen to me carefully, he said, voice shaking with fury he was barely controlling. I'm going to fix this. All of it. She frowned. Fix what? Your uncle's threats. Your suffering. Their misery. He pointed at the twins gently. And the years that were stolen from me. Amir, no, he cut in firmly. This ends tonight. Isla grabbed his arm, terrified. Please don't confront them. They can hurt you. They can. Amir looked down at her hand on his sleeve. Then he looked at her. Really looked. Isla, he said quietly, I'm not the man I was 9 years ago. His voice dropped lower. And the people who once controlled me now depend on me. Isla froze. What do you mean? Amir's jaw clenched. My uncle no longer has power. I do. Over the company. Over every asset. Over every person he once used. He leaned in, eyes blazing with a promise. He doesn't get to hurt you anymore. Isla's breath caught. Amir, what are you planning? He stared straight ahead, voice steady, lethal. Justice. And if they fear it, good. She grabbed his hand, this time not in fear, but desperation. I don't want revenge, she whispered. I just want safety. For my kids. Amir slowly intertwined his fingers with hers, his first touch in almost a decade. You have it, he said, with me. From this moment on. The twins watched silently, sensing something shifting, something huge. Isla's lips trembled. But we have nowhere to go. Amir bent down, lifted the little girl's blanket off the cold ground, and wrapped it around her shoulders. Then he looked at Isla with a softness that broke her completely. You're coming with me. All of you. Tonight. You're not sleeping on the streets ever again. Isla's knees gave out, years of fear collapsing beneath her, and Amir caught her. Firm, steady, unshaken. For the first time in 9 years, she felt safe. Amir drove with one hand on the wheel and the other gently holding Isla's trembling fingers. The twins sat in the back seat, wrapped in blankets he'd bought minutes earlier from a 24-hour store for the first time in years. They weren't cold. They weren't hungry. They weren't scared. Isla kept looking at them in the rearview mirror, as if checking if all of this was real. Amir glanced at her softly. You don't need to keep apologizing, he said. You survived.
You protected them.
That's all that matters now. She wiped a tear. But the past, it's not finished. Oh, it will be, Amir said quietly tonight. The sofa, when they pulled into the gated driveway of his mansion in Westchester, Isla gasped. You live here? Yeah, he said gently. And now you do too. Before she could respond, The front door opened. Standing there, furious, was Claudia. Amir's and Isla's blood ran cold. Claudia stormed down the steps. "Where have you been?" "We've been trying to." Her voice cut off when she saw Isla. Her eyes widened, her jaw locked. "You," she hissed. "You had the nerve to come back?" Isla instinctively pulled the twins behind her. Amir moved between them instantly. "Enough," he snapped. Claudia glared. "You ruined this family once. And now, Sachi ruined nothing." Amir's voice thundered, deep and sharp. "You and my uncle destroyed everything. You chased her across states. You threatened her. You stole my children's lives from me." Claudia's face twisted. "They're not your—" "Finish that sentence," Amir warned, stepping closer. She shut her mouth. "The truth comes." Oyutila clutched her children, shaking. Amir placed a hand on her back, steadying her, grounding her. Then he turned to Claudia. "You blackmailed her. You hid the truth from me. You tried to force her to marry a man she never loved, and when she ran, you turned our entire family against her." Claudia's lips trembled with anger. "She was beneath us." Amir laughed coldly. "You think I care about your status? Look around. This house, this wealth, this company, you did not build it. I did. And the first rule of my leadership," he stepped even closer, "we protect the innocent, not the powerful." Claudia looked shaken now. "You can't just erase your uncle like that." "I already did," Amir said coldly. "He's out. Legally. Financially. Permanently." "What?" "Signed tonight. Removed from the board. Frozen assets. Lawyers notified." Isla stared at him, stunned. "You did all that?" Amir turned to her, voice soft again. "For you? For them? For the truth?" Claudia looked between them and the children, realization sinking in. "They're really his?" Isla swallowed. "Yes." Claudia's face drained color. Suddenly, all her power meant nothing. She stepped back slowly. What do you want from me?" she whispered. "Nothing," Amir replied. "Just stay away. From all of us." Claudia fled inside. It was over. Truly over. The new being inside the warm living room. Isla watched the twins sink into the soft couch, their little eyes wide in disbelief. They'd never seen a home like this. Amir knelt in front of them. "You're safe here," he said gently. "You'll have your own rooms. New clothes. Warm meals.
School.
Everything you deserve." Their small heads nodded slowly. Isla covered her mouth, tears falling silently. Amir stood and walked to her. He hesitated, then wiped her tears with his thumb. "I missed 9 years," he whispered. "I'm not missing another minute." She broke. Years of fear turning into something softer, something hopeful. The twins curled up on the couch and slowly drifted to sleep. Isla watched them, then looked at Amir. "What happens now?" she whispered. Amir took a slow breath. "Now," he said, eyes gentle, voice steady, "we rebuild. Together. As a family." Isla's knees weakened, and she leaned into him, not out of fear this time, but because after 9 long years, she finally felt home.